All right, so my name is Michael DeLu. I'm going to be your host today for Pull Up the Tape. Before I get into the politics of today's show, I would like to ask that if you are listening to this podcast via any of the platforms that I stream on, do me a favor, and it's pretty simple. Do me a favor and just share this podcast with anybody you know that loves sports. They like basketball, share this podcast with them. They like football, share this podcast with them. They like soccer, share this podcast with them. If they like MMA, share this podcast with them. It's very simple, very easy, and helps me grow tremendously. All right. With that being said, welcome to my show. Welcome to my podcast, and let's get it started. All right. So today is September 30th, 2020. And basically, with that being said, the year's winding down, and it's the NBA season is winding down. The NFL season just getting into a full swing of things, and soccer getting into a full swing of things. But the first story I want to address is the Los Angeles Clippers. So it's been about 2 weeks since the LA Clippers got eliminated from the playoffs in probably one of the most embarrassing fashions I've ever seen in my 20 years of being an NBA fan and watching basketball. I've been watching basketball since I was about 5 years old. Like, this is like my 20th season. Like, I remember my very first season watching basketball and like actually comprehending what the hell is going on was when the Lakers won their first championship. But all right, let me get into the story. So again, like I said, this is the most embarrassing way I've ever seen any team lose in the playoffs in 20 years. And that team was led by, I wouldn't even say led, but their best players were Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And their head coach was Doc blow a 3-1 lead Rivers. So it was reported on Monday that Doc blew a 3-1 lead Rivers, and owner Steve Ballmer came to the conclusion that it was best to go their separate ways. Like, it says it was like a mutual agreement, but I'm not sure if he actually quit but they said they had a discussion and they both came to a mutual agreement that they think it's time for change. And I'm not going to argue with that at all. I mean, Doc Rivers, first of all, I'm gonna get this off my chest from the jump. I always thought Doc Rivers was a bum as a coach. All right. Doc Rivers, the only relevant years like of his career where the team he coached had championship aspirations were from 2007, the beginning of the 07-08 season, to the end of whenever Miami became a team. After that, the Celtics had no chance. And even that, so that's like a 4 or 5 year window, right? No, actually, that's not even a 4 or 5 year window. No, the Celtics were still kind of. They actually, no, the Celtics. I believe the Celtics almost beat the Heat when I was in. No, okay, I know. All right, so once Ray Allen left, that's when the Celtics were no longer title contenders. So that was probably Ray Allen was there for their second championship. So after the 2011-2012 season, the Celtics were no longer title contenders. So that's 4 years. All right. Doc Rivers has been coaching for over 20 years. So for only 4 years, you're telling me that your team was capable of winning a championship? Only 4 years. Only 4. And in those 4 years, they only won one championship. Okay? And here's my biggest thing. I know I'm kind of straying off topic and off point, but anybody could have coached that fucking Celtics team to a championship. I could have coached that Celtics team to a championship. And you know what the craziest thing about that championship run that it seems like a lot of people seem to forget? The Celtics went to 7 games against every single team that playoff series except for the Lakers in the finals, and that almost went to 7. They went to 7 against the Hawks in the first round. They went to 7 against the Cavs in the second round. They went to 7 against Detroit in the conference finals, and they went to 6 against the Los Angeles Lakers. Okay, how does that make sense? Then we should have known that he was a fraud. He was a fraud of a coach and not good at not okay and just not good. All right. So like I said, in 4 years, in 20 years, he was he only almost won a championship in 4. And let's not even act like we don't know how that championship team was even assembled. All right, Danny Ainge is the GM for this Boston Celtics, and for those of you who don't know, Danny Ainge played an integral part in the. Danny Ainge was on the team with Bill Russell. No, not Bill Russell. I apologize. Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish. So Danny Ainge is a Boston Celtic himself. So at the time of this trade, Kevin McHale was the general manager / president, general manager or something, or president of basketball operations for the Timberwolves. He's a Celtic too. He played with the Celtics his whole career. And obviously he wanted the Celtics to start winning championships again. So he traded Kevin Garnett to Boston for a bag of chips. And who did that benefit? The Boston Celtics, which he obviously is a diehard, and his buddy Kevin McHale. And then what happened? The Celtics were then able to start competing for championships, but the only one won. Then the Lakers won back-to-back, and then the who won it? Then the Mavericks, then the Heat won 2 back-to-back, and the Spurs, then the Warriors just started dominating. So my point with all this is Doc Rivers is overrated as fuck. If not for that stupid ass trade, he wouldn't have won anything. And again, anyone could have coached that team to a championship. But him and Steve Ballmer parted ways after he blew 2 3-1 leads and countless mishaps and never making it to the conference finals. I mean, if you ask me, I never thought they were ever good enough to make it to the conference finals. This Clipper team this year was probably the best Clipper team he ever had, and they still couldn't make the conference finals. The other Clipper teams he had, I personally like. I don't know why people love to gas that team up like they were actually good. Like they were fucking terrible. They Blake Griffin couldn't run a play in an offensive set in the half court in a playoff situation to save his fucking life. If he couldn't run, jump up, and grab the ball and dunk it, he couldn't do anything. Blake Griffin would catch the ball anywhere near the free throw line and just look like, damn, I'm too far away to dunk. I always thought Blake Griffin was just not there yet skill-wise. So, I mean, I personally don't blame them for – not blame them. I just never thought they were good enough anyway, so I don't even understand like why that was the expectation for them to compete for championships because, look, their team was never good enough. There were always teams better than them in the West. Except for no, I'm not gonna say except for this year. This year, there's probably only one team that was supposed to be better than them in the West, and that was the Lakers. You can argue that, but it didn't even end up getting knocked out by the Lakers. They got knocked out by the Nuggets. And what does that tell you? Doc Rivers is a fucking bum. But the point of this. So apparently, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were asked by Steve Ballmer of their opinion on the matter and whether Doc Rivers should stay as a head coach. And here's my thing to Steve Ballmer. Steve, the only question you should have asked Paul George is what trade destination would you like to go? Because you're a bum, and honest to God, you're not going to win anything with that dude. You got to get him out of there. He is a bum. He's a choke artist. He's a fraud. He's a phony. He's soft. He's a chump. He runs from the grind. Like, there's nothing about Paul George that makes me think that he could be the second best player on a championship winning team. That guy is a fraud. He's fraudulent. He's garbage. Like, you should have never asked him for anything. Only input you should ask him are you in the gym working on your shots again? Because after I seen him hit the side of the backboard on a uncontested 3 on a wide open shot, I said, "Oh my God, this is the bum that you mortgaged your future from." You gave up every first-round pick until the year 2026 for this bum. Are you serious? Okay. Along with firing Doc Rivers, you should have fired the fucking person who gave the final say-so on that trade. That was the dump. That I thought Whew. I thought the trade that the Nets gave Boston for Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett was stupid. Oh, no. This one takes the cake. You gave up 6 years worth of first-round picks, a future star in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a 20-point-per-game scorer in Danilo Gallinari for a person who's going to hit the side of the backboard in the fourth quarter of a Game 7 to go to the conference finals? Are you crazy? Are you crazy? And then it's crazy to think, but it was quite obvious that, Doc Rivers rode hard for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, treated them with the utmost respect, honestly gave them the superstar treatment, but I mean, in the end, obviously you see what happened. I mean, they weren't really too worried about him or what he had going on or him staying as a coach. But even they probably knew, this guy's not it, to be honest. It didn't matter how many times and here's why it doesn't make sense to treat, like, as a basketball coach, as a coach in general, you should always treat your players the same. Treat the starter from the last person on the bench the exact same way. Doc Rivers gave Kawhi Leonard days off where he wouldn't have to play, days off where he wouldn't have to come to practice, and in the end, look how that turned out for him. It didn't matter. These same dudes didn't ride for him the way he rode for them, and it just doesn't make sense to me. And again, once again, I'm gonna emphasize this: Paul George should never have any say so when it comes to anything. Paul George doesn't deserve any say so when it comes to anything. Like, stop it. Paul George is a bum. Doc Rivers treats his superstars well, but then the role players, he treats them whatever, and that's what creates animosity in locker rooms when you favor your superstar. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm gonna take the time to just continue to rip on Paul George. Paul George is a clown. Never shows up. Gave him all that slack. He's the one that got, honestly. Paul George is the reason why Doc Rivers got fired. Paul George. I'm gonna personally blame Paul George for the 3-1 for the Clippers blowing a 3-1 lead. I blame Paul George. Paul George is I'm going to say it again. Paul George is a fraud. Paul George is a phony. Paul George is a clown. Paul George is a bum. Paul George is not him. He's not him. Paul George is not him. I'm going to say it again. Paul George is not him. But anyways, I mean, I'm honestly not surprised. I mean, the only thing I'm honestly surprised about is the fact that he asked. I mean, I get it. You mortgage off your future. Like, you know what the craziest thing about this whole, like, it is so crazy to see the Clippers, like, oh my God, the shit that can happen in 1 year. This time last year, oh my God, the Clippers are gonna win the championship. Oh my, who's gonna score on the Clippers? They're too good on the wing. They have Patrick Beverley hacking ass. They have Kawhi Leonard. They have Paul George. They have 3 all defensive caliber players on the wing. Blah 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 blah. All these media, but shut the fuck up. Stop talking. Stop it. The Clippers are bums. BUMS, bums. It's crazy what can happen in a year. It's just crazy to think what can happen in 1 year. This time last year, the Clippers are this, the Clippers are that. Paul George is a fraud. Paul George is a bum. Paul George is a clown. I'm going to say it again. Paul George is a bum, a clown, a fraud. He is not him. And he's the reason Doc Rivers got fired. If I was Doc Rivers, I'd really catch a fade with him. On God. You a bum. I really catch a. I will pull up to his house and catch a little nigga. We could catch fades. Y'all heard that? Y'all heard that song "Catch Fades" by Soulja Boy when he had beef with Migos. Little nigga, we could catch fades. Hey, that shit go though. But Doc Rivers should hop in his car, play that, drive up to Paul George's house, and call him out. I need your hands on my mama. No, actually, he should have his son Austin Rivers run the back fade too. Have his son Austin Rivers run the back fade. We all know Paul George is a bitch. With that being said, I have nothing further to discuss on the LA Flippers. Paul George is a bitch. Kawhi Leonard is I don't really have much to say about Kawhi Leonard, but again, I firmly believe that Paul George got Doc Rivers fired. But with that being said, let me get into the real LA team, Los Angeles Lakers. So Game 1 is later today. I'm really excited. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I don't even think y'all understand. I don't even think you guys understand. Let me go to what year do we have the – okay, this is going to be the worst. Let me go to this. Give me 1 second. So the 2014, 2015 Los Angeles Lakers roster. Let's see who's on it. Lakers roster. Watch this. We had okay. Woof. Y'all ready? All right. Roster. Tariq Black. Oh my God. Vander Blue. Carlos Boozer. Old ass Kobe Bryant. Jabari Brown. Ed Davis. Wayne Ellington. Jordan Hill. Wesley Johnson. Ryan Kelly. Jeremy Price. Nick Young. Julius Randle. Robert Sacre. How the fuck is Nick Young a captain? Okay. I'm gonna go back to the year before that. All right. Let's check this out. Kent Bazemore. Marshawn Brooks. Jordan Farmar. Xavier Henry. Chris Kaman. Kendall Marshall. Jody Meeks. Robert Sacre. Nick bro, we went from having all just harboring trash on our roster to now we're back in the finals. It's been 10 long years. 10 long years. I've waited for this day. I've waited for this day for 10 years. 10 years. We've been terrible. Man, for those of you who don't know, man, I'm okay. I was raised in Los Angeles since I was 3 years old. So from 3 to 21, I lived in Los Angeles. Then I moved to Arizona, where I spent 2.5 years of my life trying to finish my bachelor's degree. Then I moved back to LA 2 years ago. From, I think it was I believe it was a 6-year window where the Lakers were just garbage. No. We weren't garbage for 6 years. The Lakers were garbage from the start of the 2013 season until the start of the 2015 season. So for 5 whole years, the Lakers were ass cheeks. Kendall Marshall, Vander Blue. All these guys aren't even in the league anymore. The Lakers were a fucking shit. The Lakers were what the Clippers were for most of their franchise career for the past 6 years. A fucking shit show. Terrible. Bad. Trash ass niggas all up and down the roster. So to think that now, to think that now we're back in the finals, we got Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Rajon Rondo, Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma. Like it's really crazy to me to think. Like it's honestly crazy. Like, wow. I don't know. This is really a tough one for me to swallow because it's just like, pause, no homo. It's just really tough because we've really struggled for such a long time. And this is how I know Laker fans are spoiled with winning, because there's teams that haven't been relevant for the past 20 years. For example, the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, so the Milwaukee Bucks have had championship aspirations for the past 2 seasons, right? Before these past 2 seasons, so before the 2018-2019 season, the last time the Milwaukee Bucks were relevant was the year 2000. The year 2000. Who was on that team that year? Ray Allen was him. Ray Allen was the best player, one of the best players in the league, and led the Milwaukee Bucks all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. The Golden State Warriors, before they started stringing off championships and blah, 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 in 2015, before 2015, the last time they actually had fielded a decent team was the We Believe Warriors in 2007. So for 8 years, the Warriors weren't good and didn't make the playoffs. Before then, oh my God. The last time the Warriors won a championship was either in the 1960s. They won a single championship. It's either with Rick Barry. I think it was in the 80s, to be honest. I believe it was in the 80s. Like there's a lot of teams that are not very good in terms of like, and even if you check the people who won the last 50 championships, all right, it goes the Los Angeles. It's about like 7 to 8 teams from what I can remember. It's the Los Angeles Lakers, the Chicago Bulls, the Detroit Pistons. They've won 3 championships in the past 50 years. The San Antonio Spurs. They've won 5 championships, and the Boston Celtics, the Miami Heat, the Dallas Mavericks. Oh, the Houston Rockets. The Milwaukee Bucks won at 1 championship. It's about like that's, and I just seen I think that's about it, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, the Raptors, I guess. The Warriors. 10 teams. There are 30 teams in the NBA. So 20 of those teams haven't won anything in the past. 20 of these teams, majority of the teams haven't won anything in the past 50 years. It's a long time to suck. But game 1 of the NBA Finals is now here. The Lakers, man. Been a long time coming, and I know. All right, but anyways, that's gonna conclude today's show. It was a short podcast today. I'm just having fun with it. I want to thank everybody for listening. It's probably only been like 4 or 5 people who listen to this. Anyways, I don't really give a fuck, to be honest. Just keep grinding, keep chipping away at that million subscribers one by one every single day. My name is Michael DeLu. I just want to thank everybody for listening to this podcast, Pull Up the Tape. Do me a favor, if you are a sports fan or know anybody who likes sports, share this podcast with them. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Go Lakers, go Jags, go Chelsea, go big, go home. Bow, movie, viral. Long live Pop Smoke. Yeah, let's get it.